Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. As always, it's great to have you here. Um, I know it's been pretty hectic for a lot of us out there. I mean, I've been in contact with a lot of people that I haven't really, had contact with in quite a while. And it's, been exhilarating and overwhelming at the same time. I've spoken before about complex emotions and how, they're absolutely allowed. I may be excited and happy and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean I can't still be overwhelmed. You know, it's a thing. Don't worry. It's a thing. It reminds me of the other day at work. I heard something that I swore was like, it sounded like the O2 machine. Um, it was, it kept going, psst, psst, psst. So I stopped the music, which I was listening to my subliminals. Subliminal affirmations. It's an app called Sound and Soulful that Infinity from Magnetize Yourself put out, and um, absolutely love them. They've really been helping with my self-confidence. They've really been helping with, you know, uh, my thought processes, focusing, just confidence in general, even just overall well-being. I mean, I've even noticed I've kind of, dropped a couple of pounds. So also it's been helping with my blood pressure too. I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So it's been helping me keep my habits a lot more and such. Yoga, walking. So I would definitely recommend it. But so I stopped the music for a minute, and I stopped where I heard the noise I thought the loudest, and it was right in front of a door. And right at that moment, a lady walked in. And then I stopped at, the office door and listened. And then I came back to the front door and I listened. And she's just kind of looking at me. And I just looked at her and I go, I know, I'm weird, but that's besides the point. I'm trying to hear something. And the noise stopped. So, of course, I'm sitting there going, well, could have possibly been an auditory hallucination. I mean, stranger things have happened, right? So, but she just kind of laughed about it, and it really lightened the whole mood and everything. So I thought that was kind of funny. But I mean, that kind of comes back to, you know what? If you own your flaws, it helps. Yeah, I know I'm not the smartest person. I know I'm not perfect, and honestly, I don't want to be, because perfect is boring. At least I keep people, enlightened. So, but I mean, I may not be perfect, and I've told many of my friends this. If you have any problems, or even any constructive criticism for me, let me know. I'm honestly, I like those instances that call me out, that give me something deeper to think about. That reminds me of a podcast that I was listening to earlier today, and I can't quite remember the name of it, but I will try to copy the link and put it in the description. But because it was just extremely enlightening. It was talking about like the difference between CPTSD and PTSD, and what they call little t PTSD. And I mean, CPTSD is complex PTSD, which is, capital PTSD, which is actual physical trauma, like, war or something to that effect. War grief, especially sudden grief, and little t PTSD, which is essentially where you get a lot of the long-term wounds from, like abandonment, betrayal, things of that sort, which follows my theory that pretty much everybody has gone through some form of trauma in their lives that they are still recovering from. My son gave me a sweatshirt one time that said, "Everyone is fighting a hidden battle that you know nothing about," and it's absolutely true, and it just but it goes through like the different types of PTSD, and it really illuminates that, and I really enjoyed it. And then it was talking about like how what are the best ways to heal from those types of wounds, and it was very informative. And he was talking about like different ways that these wounds kind of manifest in adult life, and it really made me think about, especially in relationships, it made me think about like how I act during in relationships, and it really made a lot of sense. So I was very intrigued by it. I was talking about how little t PTSD can manifest, in ways of like self-sabotage, pushing away, essentially like you identify with being the quote unquote black sheep of the family sometimes, and so that essentially is where you build your identity. Is, well, I'm the black sheep, I might as well continue to be the black sheep and the rebel, and things like that. So you feel like and I know I've felt this way in a lot of relationships, that I feel like I need to not conform. I need to be individualistic, and I need to be, self-sufficient and things like that. But I do have a tendency of taking it a little overboard, and I wind up pushing the other person away. I mean, goodness knows I tried to do that with a lot of my past relationships, including the ones that I've lost. And I think that's where a lot of my guilt comes from when I think about them, is that I feel like I did do a lot of things that pushed them away and such. But you know what? They loved me for it. Yeah, not for it, but they loved me, and they understood, and I think that's a lot of what a relationship is about, is, making the effort to understand each other. And that's why communication is so key when it comes to a relationship. The other person really makes an effort to understand the other person, and that effort should be, both ways. And so I'm going to make, I'm going to wait until I have a partner that is willing to put in that effort. And I mean, but on that subject, I was, my friend was talking to a friend of hers about like her cousin or somebody that she was talking to, and how that person seemed to be discouraging her single lifestyle, essentially. She was trying to push her into a relationship and saying, well, she should put herself out there more and she should be, doing this and this and this. Now, the thing of it is that, if you're trying to find somebody, that's probably a good idea. But this person was happy being single, I mean, and she did. She even brought up me and was talking about, and told this girl, well, I have a friend who has been single for quite a while now, and she's actually pretty happy. She's been doing her own thing. She's not closed off to the idea of love, but not really like pushing for it or searching for it or something like that. I'm actually quite enjoying being myself and being able to be myself. And, honestly, and until I can find somebody that I can fully be myself with, I'm gonna be me. I'm just gonna stay being me, and that it discourages me how much people are like discouraging the single lifestyle, and yet to the point where they will stay in relationships that they're really not happy with. I've talked to many friends that, just don't seem to be happy in their relationship at all. And they come to me seeking advice, and one of the things that I tell them is, maybe it's time to take some time for yourself for a little bit. I'm not saying end the relationship, but just kind of be yourself for a little bit, and kind of maybe even just like soul separation. I've talked about this before. Dr. Ramani talks about soul separation, and she mainly refers to it for narcissistic people that you deal with. Essentially going what she calls gray rock, and that's not sharing like any big emotions with them, and just kind of choosing the right people to share your emotions with, finding the right people, the right, tribe, as I put it. I may be single, but I am definitely not alone. And I've picked, I've got some pretty amazing friends. And it took me a long time to really fully bond with them. And the main reason for that was because I had too many people that, while I saw the great potential in them, they really weren't ready to see it yet. So I had to separate from them, for a while. And maybe at some point they might see their potential and they might start living up to it, and they might, be on my level. But not right at the moment, unfortunately. And so I had to kind of exclude them from my life. So, and maybe eventually we'll come back together. Maybe our paths are interwoven, but just not right at this moment. Right now, I'm focusing on the people who reciprocate my care and affection. And, I mean, I'm not heartless about it. I give them chances, of course, but I can't be And I know this sounds harsh, but I can't be wasting my time with people who are not worth it to me. You know, it's not good for either one of us. You know, there may be a person out there who could use their company a lot more than I can. And so you got to let them go. You got to let them, you know, I've had to let them go. And I've had to let them find their own way. And there are some times that we wind up meeting up, or I wind up, you know, running across them. They're a lot happier too. So, you know, you gotta kind of take that into account as well. Is that, you know, while you may not be the right one for them, maybe there's somebody out there who is. So, but you know what? You gotta treat yourself very well. You have to treat yourself the way that you deserve to be treated. And not the way you think you deserve to be treated, but you've got to treat yourself well. You've got to teach other people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. Yeah, because you are worth fighting for. You really are. Thank you. If you like my style, like and subscribe. I totally lost my train of thought there for a second. I was like, where was I going with this rant? So, see, even I did. But, yeah, if you like my style, like and subscribe. Thank you for being here.